You are listening to Something Rather Than Nothing. Creator and host, Ken Vellante. Editor and producer, Peter Bauer.
We're already fast friends. We know that.
Yes.
We are talking with Sarah Romano Diehl, and I'm very excited to be talking with you. And we were just chatting before we popped on here. We both like movies, and I was kind of interrogating you about, you appeared on a podcast, and you had mentioned you talked about Chinatown. Tell us your take, and what do we need to know, or why Chinatown?
Well, I do love the noir kind of look, but it's like warm 70s noir. And the Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway are just captivating,
That's the word.
Actors.
That's the word. Captivating in those roles. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's serious, but I love the humor, and Jack Nicholson is so great. Just like his grumpiness and pessimism, but you can just laugh at the situations that he gets into, and like half the movie he has like the bandage on his nose.
Yeah. That is funny. That detail is so funny, right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that in making the film.
Yeah. Yeah, but then it's also a very serious, heavy movie.
Oh, yeah.
And like the reveal at the end, and like the twist is just like really guts you.
Yeah, it's shattering. The landscape, right? Particular those who've seen it, that LA, or a particular type of LA. Do you think that landscape's related to Lynch's LA? David Lynch's LA? Does it look like it? It feels like it to me.
Yeah.
It feels like it. It feels like it to me. But do you feel that's the same place?
Yes, definitely. It's beautiful, and there's the cheery side with the palm trees, but then it's also so dark. There's the money, the extreme excess, and the underside of that.
Yeah, like a type of territory you feel like anybody can just be rubbed out and die if they're a problem, like
yeah, right.
It's like somehow like the justice is like, whoa, you better figure out how to navigate these lands, right? So, Sarah, I'm going to tell everybody who you are from your blurb, because Sarah is a comic book artist based in Seattle, who I met in Portland at Permanent Damage, which we'll talk about show, and had a great chat. Works published in Seattle Magazine, The Stranger, Scarff Comics Newspaper, and Sarah has been publishing her own mini comics and collabing with other comics artists for about 10 years. You say you love being outside and near water. I like both things. What's your favorite body of water?
Oh, the ocean.
The
Pacific Ocean. Yeah.
Me
all
too.
Oceans.
I was born in Rhode Island, which is called the Ocean State. So you can't be more than like, I don't know, 45 minutes, which is a long ass drive in Rhode Island from
one side to the other. Sure.
From the ocean. It's like, I'll do that trip in the summer, right?
Yeah.
Like I won't. So
Rhode
tell
Island's
us.
where sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Rhode Island's where I learned to love the ocean, because my mom's from Rhode Island, and that's where we go visit in the summers, and that's the first ocean I've seen, is the beaches there.
So lovely. I lived in Narragansett. I went to university. It's such a lovely place. So I lived in studying philosophy. Go figure. Philosophy and lit at the University of Rhode Island, and it's a really cool story. So for folks who don't know, Narragansett around the time like maybe part of Newport's heyday was an area which was kind of like a cheaper rich man's Newport. And so there's gambling stations and things like that over there by the ocean. But one really fascinating piece is there was this subdivided apartment I lived there my last maybe year and a half at the university, and Amelia Earhart had stayed there, and it was called Tally Ho, like the home had a name, and I was just like, that idea camped myself in my head because, like, for me, I was always around the ghost of Amelia Earhart or something like that in my head, and it's such a kind of wild thing. All right. Tell us about the comics you do, and I was interestingly pulled in by everything I saw, so I got lost in the universe. But tell other folks out there kind of what you do and your approach to doing your art.
Yeah, I began drawing comics really as a kind of socially in Seattle. I met friends who were drawing comics. It's not something that I ever thought that I would do because it seems like such a lot of work, and I was avoiding that, but I realized I needed to do it because it was the type of art that I was looking for. I wanted to do something narrative, and I wanted to have the freedom to do anything, and I hadn't realized that you could even do that in comics, just like make a story about whatever. It could be funny, it could be awful and grotesque. I mean, I just started learning about all these underground comics and things, and just local artist stuff they were doing. So I just started experimenting with that and trying to think of different characters. And also I exercised some of those muscles by writing a story that was based off of my life when I was a pizza delivery driver. I didn't have those books at my table when you were there because I have sold out of them now, but I made a series called Crust, and I worked with a bunch of characters at the pizza place, so I was kind of using them to like learn how to show character and situational humor and things like that. So, but I really do like adding some humor into my stories and just like people stuff, things that hopefully ring true, like little quirks that characters have and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I gotta have to check out Crust because there's nothing that intrigues me more. You know, when I've worked retail and I've worked around people, I could not be. I don't know if it's a dark fascination at times because retail fucking sucks like nothing else sucks, and sometimes it's the coolest job, and sometimes you don't know which. Like sometimes it's been like I want to go work, hang around with my friends, do some shit, get paid, and go home, and other times it'd be like, I truly feel that I'm being dominated right now in the workplace.
Yeah, I've definitely had all of those types of retail experiences. Luckily, I mean, this job I got, it was like one of those things where it just like landed in, I needed a job. I was literally just walking down the street and a woman just pulls over and she's like, "Hey, you know, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm looking for a job. I've got my resume." She's like, "Oh, you should work at where I work, the pizza place." I just got the job, and it was like a great environment. Just like the boss was just like, "You guys just run it. You know, the customer's not always right. You guys do what you want." You know, I don't know. It was cool.
Yeah. One of the jobs I had, and I want to tell you, it was a travel language and a bookstore outside of Washington D.C.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Except I'm a working class punk at heart, and these, you know, with the folks going in, some of the rich folks, right? Condescension and all these type of things, but they didn't know that I knew the content of the travel guide, and I knew what type of lodging which would be suggested to them. So if you were being a real prick, I'd be like, "Okay, Mr. Fancy Pants, the Harvard Let's Go College Guide is your way to get through Czechoslovakia. And when you get there, you have nothing but hostel listings, pre-internet, everything. come in contact with the people that you need to. Now that was only
Yeah.
reserved. That was only reserved for a select few. It was a
I
long
love
time
that.
ago, but you would have a different travel experience for your lack of respect.
They needed to learn some things.
That was my idea. Retail can be fun, not only for those reasons. So Sarah, I'm really interested to hear about, kind of like coming into contact when you're talking about, with art and the narrative way to express. When did you, with all that, when did you see yourself as an artist? When you're talking to people like I'm an artist and I do this, like, when did that happen?
Well, I feel like it happened at some point in my childhood. It wasn't immediate. Like, I always was encouraged to make art because my mom's an artist and an art teacher, music teacher. My dad's like mentally and emotionally an artist. Like, he's really into cool stuff. And I always was drawing, but I don't think I really thought about like, I'm an artist. It just was like something that we did at our house all the time. It was like, again, a social activity kind of. So I think I started thinking of myself as an artist once I was in school, and other kids would be like, oh, that's cool, and then, or teachers would be like, hey, this is really good. And, and then I started to think that other people saw me as an artist, and I was like, oh yeah, I am.
Yeah, you kind of, yeah. Well, and I find it because, I can even ask the question and I could get an answer where folks are like tripping on it. They're like, well, I'm not really an artist. Like, and of course, I mean, but, for me, they would be easily seen as such, but with the way people view certain acts of creativity or whether they're art or not, they might not have that. Like, and so that's why, I can be so surprised, and sometimes maybe not even assuming or assuming you are because of people calling you that, like a nickname. It's like, yeah, all right, I'm the drawing person, yeah,
right, yeah, like that's the person who draws stuff. Yeah, I know some people really feel like so much weight with that title, I think, and they're like, oh, I can't call myself that or whatever. But I think, of course, everybody's an artist. So
the term means a lot to me for a very different reason. I find that I'm so interested in the kind of like trickster element or alternate identity, or that I'm saying something an artist and there's like an attitude of being like, this is an artist thing, and like I really don't give a shit. No, I'm not trying to offend anybody.
no,
But just,
yeah.
but just, or maybe offend somebody. I don't know, but just in the sense of like, I have that edge. Yes, I'm a human, but I'm an artist doing this type of thing. And then people are like, oh, that's a wild artist, something like that. But I find that I need that. And I talk to a lot of people who need to be like doing it that way. Do you have a similar feeling towards it, or?
I think I know what you mean. Like, as in a way of life, as in a way, like a path, or like it's, I know what you mean. Definitely. And I do view like each day I want to be seeing my life as the art that I like, just, it is who it is, life, so it gives meaning, I think.
And I think, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It can be a resistance, and it can also be a surrender too.
Yeah. In your art, and the feminism within there, the idea of, not the idea, the action of having the art, to tell these stories. And that's one of the things I love about, I don't know, comics or narrative form, underground zines. Like, I want to know what's happening. Like, I don't need the 3 layers to give me the digestible bit. Like, what's happening, and I view it as such a great kind of a communication tool. Embedding activism within the art for yourself, not as like an artificial process, but
Mm-hmm.
what is the relationship for you, and jumping maybe towards the role of art in expressing what you need to express, and looking outside at the world and saying, no, this is completely messed up,
Mm-hmm.
and let's have a go at it. How do
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Well, yeah, another reason was like choosing to practice making comics and being a part of this larger way of communicating. I feel like, I chose it. One reason is because, the fine art world to me felt there's so much pretense and inaccessibility to just like regular people. And I felt like when I found out that, there's all these people, you can communicate and express ideas so much easier and accessibly with comics. And, people can buy a zine or a comic, or you can give them for free or trade them. And then there's this exchange that happens, just like it just spreads, and I've just met so many more like-minded people, and it is kind of like an FU to some just the established like people who just think they know what's up, but they don't,
Yeah, there's like a direct communication. I get so excited. You think about like, I don't know, like music culture and things like that, where you can see, I mean, you could see this type of communication you don't see in other places. And I think comics, like a lot of time been like that. So like people into comics,
Yeah.
like it's particular, but they know like if they're sensitive to like how those worlds are created with color and the story, and they drop into that, then that's, it's like those sci-fi mags, or dropping into different type of information where I'm tapping into a vibe of like inhabiting like that type of place. And even with the ideas that are communicated in zines of like, I don't know, like different types of history, or like just self-protection, like around a neighborhood, like 6 pages to be like, here's some helpful hints, like of doing this and that. And it's important. Like, it's not trivial, or like, oh, well, let me just say one piece on this.
Yeah.
Years ago, I would always, because I wasn't attuned, I really wouldn't look at small press. I really wouldn't, dig into there and look at the zine. Like I just didn't know what was there, but I was also, I think, influenced by, like maybe university thinking or hierarchy. And it's like, of course I'm going to read like Karl Over, Knausgaard, and not the zine. Like I'm going to,
yeah, there's a place for that too. Yeah.
But once I popped into it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is where all the breathing is for me. It was like, and the respiration. Did you, and within that world, is that vitality you find in it?
Yeah. And not to say that there's not an importance of like sometimes gatekeeping in a way, like with publishers and things like that can be good, and they have like standards that they are, they're like, this is our standard, this is what we do. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's great. But yeah, with more alternative scene and stuff, it's like breathing. It's there's just a much more, like a taking in, giving out, and I've learned a lot from that community. So
yeah, we're up in the Pacific Northwest. We both like Twin Peaks.
Yes,
we're both really into like. I was chatting about, and we'll get into this, like identity and multiverse, and I just wanted to like, let's just chat about it. The other piece was monsters too, and thinking about monsters. But for me, I wanted to just like start with the hard take, and because this is a show we're creating, we can talk about David Lynch and we can talk about Twin Peaks. We can just riff on this. But
Yeah.
so for me, in talking about identities and doubles and triple characters in Lynch, I think it's always been there throughout the works. But for me, the first time I saw him like really attempted as part of the main narrative was in Lost Highway.
Hmm.
And what I'm talking about is where characters resemble each other, or characters are like it's the same body, but they're behaving differently. And for
Yeah.
me, you see this theme predominant Mulholland Drive
Hmm.
in Twin Peaks season 3, and now you have doubles and this type of thing. But I found it to be this development to be so fantastic and amazing of an idea of how to tell the story, because you're always trying to figure out like what's a real copy, what's a copy of a copy, and this whole identity switch. When I talked to
Yeah.
you and we were communicating a bit, you're talking about the idea of like stories and as
Hmm.
a multiverse, or these layers or different ways of approach. I wanted to hear some thoughts from you about like identity and your thoughts behind that concept.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just thinking like how every story that's created or every work of art is just adding to the universe in itself, or even creating portals, to other places that you can go. And every person that perceives that is creating a separate, different universe, because it's different to them the way that they're perceiving it. So I don't know, I just feel like it's infinite, and like the connection just goes, it's spreading in all the time right now, just like crazy. It just blows my mind.
I I I think thinking about organizing and spreading idea, or trying to spread like a decent idea too, even when we're talking about, our activism, lack of separation. I think like even not to be jumpy, but like even on the
Hmm.
podcast format, like there's like this unknown about something going out somewhere, and if like six people happen to have bumped into this and are chatting about philosophy in a bar in Dublin, I'm like, what has, like there's um, this rippling or something that
Yeah,
that I feel or with it. Yeah.
totally. And like with coincidences, sometimes they feel like when, or like, sometimes you feel like you read somebody's mind, or like something just happens, just that kind of, um what do people call that? I don't know, serendipitous
It's
moments.
serendipity. How about
Yeah.
this? How about this for being strange? So I recently released a Sadie Dupuis episode of the band, Speedy
Yeah.
Ortiz, Sad
Yes, I love
13.
them.
Oh my gosh.
They're
And
so good.
thanks. It was such a, it was such a wonderful thing, working with them. But there's a story in there about the new album just released September 1st, 2023, called Rabbit Rabbit. And I'll tell you, it's you notice things, and there's these sayings and fortune and luck, and who knows how it
Hmm.
all works out. But I'll tell you this: I woke up during the night, and I was just awake for a little bit, just walking around. It was early in the morning, and I lay down on the couch, and there was a Lego rabbit that I didn't put together. I would have put together if somebody did it before me, but a Lego
Uh-huh.
rabbit with a Lego carrot, and my head's tilted back, and I'm looking diagonally. Now we have a house rabbit named Bunny Fufu,
Oh, okay.
right? And so I put out Bunny Fufu because I don't know, it's like 4 in the morning. I'm like, oh, Rabbit, you need to be able to, create some space, put up the barrier. I put down the barrier, and Fufu is just like hammering it like, battering ram. Like, nope, I'm out in the house, and I'm laying down like in and out of it. And I'm like, this rabbit's going to come barreling, no word of a lie. Like I'm looking down and I saw the Lego rabbit. She runs by rabbit. And I'm like, okay, rabbit, rabbit. That expression. And I'm like,
Wow.
it's 4:00 in the morning here in Mid Valley, Oregon, but coincidence and that shouldn't have happened. That's too weird.
That is weird. Yeah. Even it's kind of just a small thing, and it's and it's just, it's like something that you had a moment to yourself and you recognized it. It's weird. It's like a communication, from somewhere or something, just like to tell you, like, yeah.
Does deja vu happen to you?
Yes.
Does it?
I've always had, yes, it has so much deja vu.
Strong experiences of it?
Yeah.
Your whole life?
Yeah. Definitely.
I get a weird story related to deja vu. I used to have intense experience, and I'd describe them to people, and I'd annoy my friends, right? You might know the experience.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's deja vu again. If they don't have the experience, it's like, oh, they drifted somewhere else
wait
again.
a second. Wait,
right?
What? Deja vu.
Right? And they're like, okay, fine. We lost her for a second. But here's the strange piece. The incidents in my experience of them now is so diminished compared to, I'm 51 now, but it's so diminished to from 15, 20 years ago. So it's like, I almost want more deja vu in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of nice because it does make you feel like you're being told something, or
I feel grounded because I've lived the moment already.
Yeah.
I know awesome. That's not the best.
No, you're still, you have so much living the moment ahead of you.
Hey, I'm halfway through. No, I'm not getting, I'm not going down on that, on that tip. Been listening to too much goth music at Bauhaus lately. I gotta, lighten up. So, so haven't asked you yet, Sarah, as part of the reason for having you on the show. What the heck is art?
Oh, I think that art is an uncovering and a sharing of some kind of knowledge, or if you're releasing it and you might not even know what it is until it's outside of you, but it's some kind of a knowledge and communication of that. But it's fluid, and it's different to anybody who has their own lens. But I think if it's really good art, there's some kind of a truth there.
Folks answer, they don't always say that it's not a right or wrong answer, but when you talk about knowledge, you start thinking about truth. I think about the ideas sometimes, right? Because we have a conceptual, conversation about this, a philosophy show, but there's also if you look at a great painting, one of which where you're looking up, if you're sensitive to it and you're up at the painting and you're as close as you can get, and you're looking at all the different angles, and then you see, or maybe you feel the suffering of the subject that's on that, and you, I don't know, embody it or experience or whatever. I think there's an idea of truth or knowledge in there, right? So in arguing this at the university, of saying, my experience was transcendent. I'm not trying to put it down, but you're trying to, or did I get direct knowledge, or did I share emotionally and what that painter was trying to convey, and the knowledge is that way. At least it feels like that way, and sometimes like a transmission, like you're saying.
Yes,
you have that experience.
Yeah, definitely, all the time. But we're surrounded by art, so
Is what about painting? Are you sensitive to painting in that type of way, and you have that experience with a particular painter that evokes that more often than others?
Yeah, I do love painting. I was a drawing and painting major in college.
I'm sure you were.
So I love oil painting and stuff, but I don't do it very often anymore. But yeah, I really I felt really emotional when I see, I like figurative stuff a lot. So like Egon Schiele, I don't know if you know his work.
I was talking about Egon Schiele in a conversation last night, so yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See,
I got a good story
go.
connected to it. Tell me the Egon Schiele stuff from me, and I'll tell you the actually kind of funny story related to Egon Schiele. But tell me, yeah.
Well, I love the exaggeration of the body. Like you can almost feel it in yourself, like and the expressiveness of like the hands and the eyes and the color usage and the looseness of the way the paint is put down. Like I feel like I can see that he was feeling when he was painting, and like you see it in every brush stroke. So I really love that kind of work.
You can the bodies, talking about the painter Egon Schiele here, the bodies, you could feel the bodies. You can it's some of the process you describe, I think that's there, how the paint looks, and that the body for some people is way too contorted, way too agonizing for them to experience.
Yeah. It is pretty intense. Some of them are pretty gross looking, and some of them are very beautiful. But it's definitely makes you feel something.
The experience I had is I've been lucky in my life to be able to travel, to save up and travel at times. And one of the places I went to was where they had a small, or maybe a more prominent Egon Schiele museum in Český Krumlov in the Czech Republic. And this is at a point I was a long time ago. I wasn't really familiar. I've always been interested in painting, but I didn't know all the Schiele stuff at that time. And what was so cool about it was and it was summer and it was warm, and on this river in literally Bohemia, right?
Yeah.
There's the Egon Schiele Museum, and there's images and stuff so I'm like acquainting myself with that. And on the other side, you have like a mix of kind of like young European travelers, and everybody's naked and jumping into this river. So like I'm
amazing.
I'm like the bodies over there, and I'm just like becoming acquainted. It's like, what a strange experience, because obviously it's like enthralling, right? I'm in my 20s and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in Europe and people like women are jumping into the water and rivers here, like a movie I saw one time, but they actually do it. And everybody was all genders but there was the Schiele thing, and so I just had it just burned into my mind about the bodies, like the bodies were moving there in Schiele. And so when you mention that, it's like the transmission of something of pain, suffering, joy, entanglement in those bodies in Schiele is
like a real like feeling, like you could feel it in your body, like when you look at it, that kind of response or something.
We could do maybe we'll have to do a separate episode, do some more studying of Schiele, and then just like do the Schiele episode. We chatted just a bit about it, but to formally connect it to the question of art and the role of art, I heard in your answer as far as the communication and some things we were talking about. I just wanted to hear like as far as what you think of the role of art, and a wrinkle I had about it lately, because the way the world feels for many, 2023, rising temperatures, social issues, political tensions. Is the role of art different now than it was before?
I don't think so. I think it's the same, and every day it's more and more important. It's so important, but it feels like there's more pressure and more, well, in some ways there's more obstacles at being an artist, and just feels like it's just harder and harder to just fight against the machine. I don't know. The US just seems like really depressing kind of in so many ways. And just like the reality of trying to like survive and, you know, get through your days and take care of what you need to take care of. But in other ways, though, I mean, there are more forms of more ways we can reach out to each other and talk, and like this, like the podcast and the internet, and, you know, all these ways that people are influencing each other. And I find a lot of hope in that. But I think it's always more and more important that people are just, again, like expressing themselves and sharing, and to be fearless in and not conform to a way of expressing themselves because they think that's what someone wants to hear or what is going to make them money, you know.
I think there's something. I think there's something about that, because one of my experiences in doing the show is strange. Think about it's a bunch of work, but it's different. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to, way my mind is, I'm just intensely curious, and I'll be so forever. But the idea that I can drop into areas that interest me, and I might have deeper knowledge than might be expected, or I might not know anything, and to try to establish, like, when I'm going up to invite you and other folks, it's like, why you invited me? Well, I want to talk to you. Like, I want to, like, I want to drop in. You're going to allow me to drop in and like look at it in a particular way. An example, I've had a little bit more interviews with playwrights lately.
Nice.
And the last interview I had with two, Paul Adams and Keitha Gentis, who knew, I was like asking questions like, you're saying you're workshopping this and you do it twice a day and you do it for a month and showing, like, what is that? Like, how are you making the play? Like, literally, like, are you rewriting lines? Do actors start yelling at, like, and it was so fascinating to be able to ask that question.
Yeah.
You know, like, what's your world like? Like, what does that even mean? Because I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun.
I love that. I love the collaborative aspect of, like, it seems like theater and plays and stuff like that. I always thought it'd be so fun to somehow mix comics and acting, or, I mean, I guess people do. It's basically a movie or a play. It's just like in real life, but I don't know. It's cool.
It was so interesting because with this episode, Keitha Gentis has done some, produced some big films, you know, in Hollywood. But this newer play that she's done is called Sex Work, Sex Play. And it's very provocative, just as far as like the characters and stuff there. So I learned a little bit about it. And on the other side, what was so cool, Paul Adams, who's run this repertory and helps bring in a lot of new works, is doing a play on Doris Day. Which
sweet.
You think is kind of like this more, like, you know, like super traditional songs, America's Sweetheart type of thing. And when I'm doing this, I'm like, holy shit! Like, how the hell did I get? I had help pulling it together, but it was just kind of like how it worked and how things were working together. And I'm like, well, this is pretty darn cool. Like, to do this and learn about plays. So I think that part about it is fun, and the energies that you were talking about. What's it like? I met you, and my partner Jenny met you at the Permanent Damage, right next to Floating World Comics, in the Lloyd Center. There's a tattoo shop, Mortal Emblem, at the end. Ice rink downstairs. All these great things, and you were there. Tabling next to show friend T. Edward Bach, which is great to
great guy,
hang with him. And so take us in, tabling an event.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, but I know it's a diverse experience for the diverse creators that table. Tell us about being there last week, the Permanent Damage show, and just your experience.
Yeah, it was so rad. I was really excited to be there. There was many artists that I look up to there, and it's fun to be in Portland. You know, I of course have done more events in Seattle and some other places, but Portland has so many great creators, and there was people from other areas of the US too, and but it was so punk and like also felt just like, you know, like grounded and like just like friendship. Friendship. It was so nice. Good feelings.
A lot of people feeling like themselves a little bit more, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, you know, I always get a little nervous. I feel like I'll be like, oh, maybe people are gonna be like, she doesn't belong here, or why is she here? You know, and then it's always really nice and affirming to just go and do the thing and realize that everybody is just like super cool and non-judgmental for the most part, you know, just like wanting to just talk and look at each other's stuff and just exchange that. And the people that came in to buy comics too are just lovely, you know, just some people that didn't know anything about comics too. It's always fun to kind of just like see people who are discovering this world. Like they have so many questions like, how does this exist? How did I never know this? What's going on?
Yeah, I could see that. Sometimes I think like if you take a look at a zine, I remember like if you know something that really strikes you is like, I can't believe that somebody wrote about this exact super weird idiosyncratic thing that I thought for years, and it's in front of me, and I didn't know that I could purchase it for $3 and then share and you know, Tales of Conan the Barbarian in my own head of a particular way, or read Sonja in whatever it is. And I love the variety of stuff, you know. And you know what's cool too is I like where you end up in the strangest conversations, and there's a comfort, like, because I was looking at, and I'm forgetting the artist's name, but there were these photo zines, cool, weird photo zines, right? And this was of kind of weird looking animatronics, and then the other one was like super exaggerated sex animatronics figures.
Whoa.
And it was having this conversation, but I realized I was in a very quickly what was a normal conversation that I really didn't like, you know, didn't expect. I didn't know what I didn't know or wanted to know. And there as well, I don't know why I'm leading from that story to Mark Palm. Sorry, Mark Palm. Love Mark Palm. I don't know one led to the other, but there you go. Love his art. And
I ran into him randomly last night, actually. Sorry. Go on with your story.
Okay, is there a story related? I'm not jumping over that if there's something decent for the show.
No.
Okay.
Well, we just saw each other at a show that he randomly was walking to.
Shout out to Mark Palm. Sometimes he's said that I'm a #1 fan, and I would say not in the misery way, not in the Stephen King misery way, #1 fan. But I did make it to 2 Mark Show events, the UFO Festival in Burien.
I heard about that.
And then down there at Lloyd's Center. So I did make 2 events, Mark Palm events.
Heck yeah.
Most importantly, I made it to one Sarah Romano Diehl event next to T. Edward Bach as well. So it was cool. I feel when I was at that event or Comic-Cons or being around Floating World, when you're into comics, been into comics a lot, or underground art, you feel, I feel that I'm breathing air that is different, but feels made for me. Another time I experienced that is, I'm a big doom metal guy, like
Cool.
live doom metal. Like my
Uh-huh.
favorite style of music live is doom metal.
Fun.
It satisfies my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so being sensitive to art, I think it's so fun to be around events that are like that, and to be like, this person's a discrete genius. Look at this wonderful type of thing, and to bounce around it and to do it for $2 or $3 to get in
Yeah.
the door. Do you have some coming up this fall, like events that you're excited about, or something popping up coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know, I think October 31st, Halloween, I think that's when there's the Portland Zine Fest, which I don't remember if I'm tabling, but if not, I'll try to attend it. And so it's a good time.
We'll figure out something.
Yeah. And I'm going to be at Short Run Small Press Fest, which is November 4th in Seattle at the Fisher Pavilion. It's fantastic. It's big and full of lots of more great art. So yeah, those are the two events I have coming up before the new year that I know of.
It's really exciting.
Yeah.
We're chatting here early September 2023. I've talked to a bunch of folks, and there's like I felt like a weird deep vibe for like early Halloween, or like people dropping into horror movies, or like thinking fall. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
can't explain all that, or maybe around the folks that I am. And
Mm-hmm.
I like being able to do that. And so I started to drop into horror movies, and
Yeah.
thinking about um horror. One of you being a Lynch fan, for me, and thinking about Twin Peaks, um for me, a lot about it has been horror,
Mm.
and there's glory in the show and these
Yeah.
stories, but of a horror and of
Yeah.
monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're chatting about different creative ideas, talking about monsters and Killer
Yeah.
Bob, like
Uh-huh.
that we say, that's a monster. It's not human. It's not other, like
Right.
a monster, or this a demon.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, that to me is like true horror is the non-human evil, is something that we can't really put our finger on because we can't know anything other than what is human, really. But if there's this feeling that there's some kind of like evil,
Yeah.
that's so scary. But
What do you think about? Yeah, tell me about it.
oh, well, I was just gonna say I love it, and like with David Lynch, he does that stuff so well because it's like the contrast to all the goodness and the tension between the goodness and like the humor and the sweetness, and then you have that extreme bad that it really really makes you I don't know, edgy a little bit. You feel that.
I've season 3, famous episode 8, done in black and white, origin of evil, basically
Mm-hmm.
behind it. Might say the inception, or shown to be inception of the nuclear test in the Southwest,
Mm-hmm.
Oppenheimer, and people are talking about a lot of these type of things. But
Yeah.
I found that that episode for me to be such a profound vision, and tied to an underpinning of the horror of the nuclear, of the monster, of the overpowering of the toxic, radioactive, and the activation of evil, like on some sort of
Mm-hmm.
cosmic, like, breaking level. And so, hey, like, super profound themes, and I was so affected overall by that episode and thinking about good and evil.
Yeah.
But I think, and there's no spoilers here, just generally speaking, the saddest end of anything I've ever seen in my friggin' life was the end of Twin Peaks season 3. It's
Yeah.
like I could watch it and it's beautiful and it's profound and it's like I can't. I'm like, this is so sad.
Yeah, it is. I know. Have you seen The Elephant Man?
Yeah.
That, not to change it from Twin Peaks, but that was the first David Lynch thing that I ever saw. I was like 8 years old.
Same here. Same thing. Right around
really?
the same time for me.
Wow.
But quickly released 80, 81.
Not sure.
Is it early 80s? I was 8, 9,
Mhm.
10 because I watched it a little bit after it came out. So
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. So Elephant Man.
He also, I feel like David Lynch shows, well, he shows how evil and monstrous people can be. That movie like broke me open emotionally. I feel like it changed my life in some ways, like just like people are treating what's his name, John
Merrick.
Like John Merrick, like he's a monster, but he's not, you know. It's just like that. The tragedy. He was like a beautiful person, and just the fact that he could stay beautiful with all the ugliness that was like thrown at him, and you know, feeling like, you know, what his outside looks like. And I don't know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful film.
Mm-hmm.
I had being into film. I see Lynch predominant art form, and this, it's strange to say, but you know, painting. Like I see, obviously, it's the photography eye. Of course, he's a filmmaker, but there's these paintings that show up in his films. And I was just watching Barry Lyndon by Stanley Kubrick, and I'd always been thinking about Kubrick in the terms of individual photographs run together, like these incredible stills, the photographer eye. But then I watched Barry Lyndon, and it's I think it's a series of paintings done in like particular motifs. Because as I was watching, I'd never seen it before like this. It was like there was Monet, there was Caravaggio, there was Rembrandt, there was a whole bunch of painters. I'm like, he's holding the scene for this amount to show. I don't know. So I had my mind blown of thinking like painting and photography. And what about Lynch's painting and other type of arts? Have you experienced that and have thoughts of, you know, with his painting and maybe short film and stuff like that?
I think I've seen some of the paintings, and I've listened to like some of his music. Like, I don't know, it's just different. It's you know, I think he's having fun and it's great. I don't know, it's just different.
One of the funniest tricks, Lynch had done this biography. I'm not sure if you read it. Name's escaping me. It's Holmes in the title, and I'll put it in the show notes. But it's the setup is that there's a biographer, but Lynch has the response to each chapter that the biographer has written.
That's so good.
It gets better. If you listen to it on audio, the voice for the other author, and David Lynch does the voice for the response chapters.
Oh my God.
And so you never quite know what he's going to take, and it tends to be funny and telling a story. He'll tell a story for a long time to make the point. It's his chapter, right, in response. And there's one, and I'm paraphrasing here, is this kind of exposition where the author is doing the biography of his high school and all this, you know, doing this whole type of thing. And the response chapters have been long, but she does the high school one, and it basically goes back to him, and it's like, I fucking hated high school. And that was the chapter. And I'm like,
that's it.
I'm like, you are from heaven or some other place. How can you think of doing that? That's brilliant. One of the best chapters ever written. Faulkner had my mother was a fish, and we have. I fucking hated high school. I apologize to everybody and to David Lynch for any details I messed up. That's the gist of the story. Yeah.
Rough time.
So, Sarah, always remember, no matter what biography deal you end up with, negotiate your own response chapters.
All right.
Throw away the
Wonderful.
other details. You're like, I don't care. Let me negotiate my response chapters, and we got a deal for it, right?
I love it.
All right. So, tell me, you had some ideas and thinking philosophy, and the formal question is, why is there something rather than nothing?
Oh, yeah. Because I think nothing's impossible, because there is something. I can't really, obviously, prove it, but I think it's already proved, and that's that.
As a reflection of reality. No, one of the reasons I studied philosophy is because we chuckle, because I think you and I can admit that on some level of experience, the questions are either annoying or stupid, right? Like they trip you up, right? And this is like one that is like that. Like, one of the things I enjoy talking about philosophy is like when you're trying to talk about it all seriously and somebody busts out laughing, because then it's like, are we kind of playing here? Like, is anybody going to call the question? Did anybody overhear that? We're doing this for work. Be careful. We got a good thing going on, So,
well, I love that. That's something that I love about humor too, and like being able to laugh that's like you hit on something true, and then you just want to laugh about it.
You want to keep going with it.
Yeah.
But you like stand up?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. What's
I
your
really
what kind of stand up you like? What do you like?
Well, I don't know. I like a lot of like local people that I've seen here, and
Seattle.
I mean, I'll watch pretty much anything, but I don't know. It's kind of like, I love it when people have like a really ridiculous kind of like abstract kind of humor, but somehow they manage to get it right, so people aren't just like clueless. Like you get it, but it's still kind of just like, what,
I think Eddie Izzard.
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard. You might dig on that, because kind of like brilliant, profound, like historical knowledge and such, and this kind of like trickery with language. So he's talking about something huge, and then he'll bring it down, and really made it early on in British stand up. One of Izzard's sets, Dress to Kill. It's the one.
I'm writing that down.
Dress to Kill hits, but no, it's fun to talk about I like comedy, and I like the part in philosophy. There's a few books about history of philosophy through jokes. Like
awesome.
The only method that they really employ is always joking about the topic, and it ends up being like super funny and disruptive, and makes you feel good, because just laughing like helps your body, right?
Well, yeah, you're unguarded when you're laughing,
Yeah. Yeah. It's evocative. All right. So, you were talking about the different type of events you have. I wanted to talk loosely before maybe asking a couple other things, just to make sure. Where do folks find your stuff? Like, where do they look? Where it shows regularly, and your website and all that type of stuff? How do people interact with your art?
Yeah. I mean, I put like things happening on Instagram, and I try to keep it up with like some new art, or like sometimes just sketches, sometimes books that I've got coming out, events and all that kind of stuff. And my website, definitely. And I do sometimes, I sell stuff online through Etsy, but not as much. I like to just put my work into the local bookshops and then also at shows whenever I table. So
Yeah. You point of personal privilege. You mentioned your connection to Rhode Island and your mom. What are your impressions? You're a West Coaster. What kind of what kind of feel? It evokes a response in general. I find my home state. What did you get from it?
From Rhode Island?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I have so much warm memories from it because my grandparents lived there. They were in Greenwich, and my mom grew up there with her 4 brothers. So I have like a lot of uncles and aunts because they all got married and had families, and they're kind of scattered around the East Coast now. But I do have an aunt and uncle that still live. They live in Narragansett Bay, actually. Ooh. And yeah, my aunt is an artist, and she's an oil painter, like really awesome, that lives in Narragansett Bay. I love this small feeling, the ocean feeling of Rhode Island, the Dell's Lemonade.
Dell's. Aha, you get points for that one. Dell's Lemonade, shout out. Frozen lemonade treat, very particular to Rhode Island. Wonderful.
Lemons are the best in general. So
you ever get the coffee?
Yes.
The coffee syrup?
Yes, the coffee syrup. My mom gave us that when we were kids.
I have it in my fridge right now in Albany,
Amazing.
Oregon.
Wow. Do you order it, or do you have to go there and you bring it back with you? Or?
I order it from a dishonorable retailer.
I think I know.
But I get my coffee syrups.
Yeah.
And shout out to Rhode Island Coffee. There's a few folks who it's becoming their favorite beverage out here in the woods of Oregon. So who knows?
Show them the way.
I tell them I used to be able, when I was a kid, and go to the milk line. You could get chocolate, regular milk, or coffee milk
at school.
Yeah,
that is so Rhode Island. No other state. That's amazing.
You could. Someone might check the books on this, but think about it. If you're technically a kindergartner, right? So you're in public school, and where I went to school, everybody got free lunch, even way back in the day. Mm-hmm. And you go in there and you have your freaking milk token, and you go to the milk lady, and she got the white milk, the brown milk, and the black milk, the chocolate coffee, and the white milk. And so you could get jacked up on coffee milk back in Rhode Island in the day.
Yep.
As a kid. Obviously had no effect on me, right, Sarah?
No, that's why you're so great. Maybe that's one of the secrets.
charged up. Hey, maybe there's a dietary thing there, but no, I love that. Well, you like your Dunkies? You like the Dunkin' Donuts, or?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. I know everyone just loves the coffee. Everyone's like Dunkin' Donuts coffee, but it's okay.
Let me be. I can be real. From Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Look, I'm out on the West Coast now.
Yeah.
The coffee ain't all that. That's all. Say politely, okay?
Yeah, we have good coffee here.
It's a beverage that I have a lot of positive associations with, and like to stop in at Dunkies to see somebody I might know, and to get like a English muffin and a Dunkies, but it is not. It's not gourmet.
No, it's not like coffee. Like,
it's wicked good. Yeah. It's wicked good.
Yeah.
But
it's good.
It's not gourmet. No, it's great to chat. It's chat chat about Rhode Island, and I reminisce from time to time. I haven't been out there in a little while, and you know, the ocean and the particular pieces of being out there in the water, and those associations. And it's a really wonderful place. A lot of people in a small amount of space, which out west, I like to be able to breathe and stretch out my arms a little bit more. So it feels very different, very different that way. A couple ideas you got going on for upcoming projects, even if you don't do them, things that have been like, you're like, I want to develop this idea, or work you're going to be putting out to develop something that's going on in your head now?
Yeah, I have a story that I've been working on, I've got the plans summarized, and I put out a little like sneak peek that I think maybe you got. I had titled it "Oh Joy." And it's about like a grumpy teenager that moves to a very eccentric town. I mean, I'm getting some ideas from when I I moved to Colorado when I was a 12-year-old, and it was speaking of East Coast, and it was just like a stark contrast compared to like living in the East Coast and then moving to like this Colorado town. Such a different vibe, and it was kind of but it's not serious. It's going to be like, kind of ridiculous, and I'm just going to exaggerate like the kind of people that she runs into, and have some funny situational humor. I'm also, the town that we moved to with my parents is called Manitou Springs, and there's spring water everywhere, like really cool fountains and things. So that's one thing I am going to have in the story with the town. It's the water is going to be sort of like really important piece of kind of tying certain things together. But I haven't figured out the whole story. I haven't figured out how it's going to end.
No,
really.
Thanks for chatting about that. Like the peek into it. I really enjoyed your work. There's
Thank you.
I've seen a couple images, and I'll just describe the feeling. Nothing technical, but there's so much energy, like even coming through the panel, like that was kinetic, that I was able to pick up on, because whenever I'm starved or I'm not quite on imbalance in an art way, I always need like a surge of connection to kinetic energy, and it might be like thrashy metal, or whether it's something like with movement with that. But I would say like with the couple panels that I saw, like I even felt it like in the image. So
I love that. Thank you so much for saying that, because again, like with like when we were talking about Egon Schiele and the bodies and stuff like that, that's what I want. I love that kinetic energy in art, and like when I love that in cartooning you can exaggerate so much to like feel it. Like let's see, there's people who do it so well, that like Anya Davidson and stuff, she has great kinetic drawings. But so I love that you say that.
Well, I even think of the Schiele thing, and it's just like a convergence where I had that memory last night. And when you mentioned that, so the first thing I think, and I paint, but I not.
Oh yeah.
My relationship is different. It's the representing or showing the thing. I can't. Not yet. I can't do that. So if I want to see the thing that I'm talking about, but I immediately thought about that scene I was describing to you, because it's all bodies. It's like Egon Schiele, and like I could see almost like in the painting, like somehow, like I'll have somebody do it, or it'll show up somehow that those bodies are, maybe the rocks are exaggerated, or the height or something like that. But like to have it reflect upon me what I saw, like how was I in a situation where my first contact with Egon Schiele and the images that they were up there on the bank, and how was it that bodies, which were so like attractive and fascinating, like in this movie, like in the painting, like, and capture that and look at that. That's the painting where like you're staring at because you're living there for a while. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not towards madness, not towards madness. But it's been so great to chat with you.
So great to talk to you too.
Yeah, and
thank you so much for having me.
There's a couple things. I got to send you a copy of. We've had trouble kicking out, being busy and such. The zine, but there is an issue of the Something Rather Than Nothing zine.
Oh, awesome!
That I can email you, and
thank you.
Yeah, there's more on the way, but just kind of fun stuff. I think it's been cool to connect with what zines are doing in my organizer mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Now at this point in my life of being like tapping into the vein of what you can do. And I know because I've seen in your work, I know that you're out there in front and fighting for women and fighting for what's right. So I want to recognize that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I love the zines. Final point. One of the ways I've been able to try to understand art, East Coast, West Coast, is, and I don't understand it all yet, but is through two people. One is Kathy Acker, the punk writer. New
Did
York.
You see the book that Larry published about Kathy Acker recently?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That East Coast New York punk, everything that's Kathy Acker. We don't have, I adore Kathy Acker for what she does within writing and everything. But I never knew, or I was so connected to the East Coast part of it, I didn't know all the Seattle stuff. Kathy Acker in Seattle, and I was like, and I found a book. It was actually Kathy Acker in Seattle, so it was like a deep dive for like people like maybe you or I, be like, what did she do in Seattle?
Yeah.
But it really helped me. Trying to travel through her brain, trying to understand like this deep, cool, and punk was going on.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, you
so
did.
Good.
There's some really amazing stuff. There's actually a couple mind blowing essays there towards the end that were just incredible. The other piece too is I was talking to somebody, not to linger here, but I was talking to somebody and they were talking about politics right now, and sometimes when things are tough, like you end up relying on thinkers, or like who do you go back to just, I don't know, like help me get it or level me out. And so this might Hunter S. Thompson and his political acuity of his analysis of what's going on the ground, up in the campaigns, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, 72. Like I found myself going to be like, because it is wild out there politically. A lot of us who are active know that it is wild. But to read that there are trends and currents and these weird ass shit where I'm reading it, it's like, okay, this ain't the same, but some of it kind of is the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's helped.
Yes, that does help, doesn't it? Yeah.
Kathy Acker and Hunter S. Thompson. Where's that leave me, Sarah Romano Diehl?
Where does it lead you? Crazy town. No. Very
we'll
sane.
Do part two. We'll do part two. I think the point is to go in further, to become more sane and try to reflect what's going on. Super cool to talk with you. We both get excited about these things and thinking of with the activist mindset and creative mindset. Let's I think it's fun to collaborate and do art stuff and be a liaison to like a artist friend or somebody in the art community in Seattle who like excites you, and like introduce them to the show so we can do our going north, like organizing things. So that's what we're up to, I think, right, Sarah?
Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
Totally.
This is Something Rather Than Nothing.
And listeners, to stay connected with us and our guests, visit somethingratherthannothing.com. Join our mailing list for exclusive updates and access to guest-created art. If you enjoyed this episode or any episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review on your podcast platform. People really read that shit. Your support helps us reach more listeners and spread our community across the planet. This is a global show, and we like to give a shout out to our many listeners across the world, including many listeners in Canada, Spain, Germany, UK, Argentina, Brazil, India, Thailand, and so many more places. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Something Rather Than Nothing Podcast for behind-the-scenes content. And the best way to help the show is to tell your friends about us. If you love it, they'll love it too. Tell your friends who love it. We love you. This is Something Rather Than Nothing Podcast.